It's time once again for another SMC Journal podcast. This is a show where we talk about software engineering and all aspects of IT in one way or another on this show. I'm Scott Moore, your host. Thank you for being with me today. Got a very special show for you today. How many of you are interested in observability and specifically how to implement OpenTelemetry? Well, we've got a guest on who's got a new book out that's going to show you how to do that. And it's called Mastering OpenTelemetry and Observability: How to Engineer Your Applications to perform better and avoid outages on your infrastructure. His name is Steve Flanders, and he is a senior engineer, one of the leaders over at Splunk, and he has a lot of experience with observability. I think this will really help you as you begin to implement OpenTelemetry in your enterprise. Let's go right to it. Hey, Steve, welcome to the SMC Journal podcast. Great to have you on today.
Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here today.
So I understand that you have written a book about mastering open telemetry and observability. And I'd like for you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell them about how long you've been doing this and what you've been involved with that makes you qualified to write such a book.
Yeah. So my name is Steve Flanders. I've been in the monitoring and observability space for well over a decade now. I've been an end user trying to troubleshoot very complex systems. Also been on the software side. I've helped build a logging product, an APM product, and a metrics product. So familiar with the traditional three pillars of observability, if you will. And I've been involved with the OpenTelemetry and the precursor to that, the Open Census project, since the very beginning. Primarily helping out with the collector aspect, so the Open Census service that's now the OpenTelemetry collector, but also now with instrumentation and kind of other aspects of OpenTelemetry overall. Very passionate about this because like systems are becoming much more complex, and you really need a way to kind of look into them and figure out how they're or why they're behaving a certain way. And so this is just something I've been passionate about for a very long time.
Sounds good to me. So here's my first question for you. Can you tell us about the differences between open telemetry and observability, and that observability has kind of a bigger context to it and where OTeL fits in?
Yeah. So observability is really being able to ask any question about the data that you're collecting of your applications to determine system behavior, whether that's availability or performance. You could even get into like security aspects if you wanted to. And so to do that, you need to generate and collect telemetry data. The most common ones are traces, metrics, and logs, but they are not the only ones. There's profiling data, there's real user monitoring and like session data. There's a variety of different data sources you can collect this information. And what you need to do is take that telemetry data and then analyze it to figure out how your system is behaving overall. Typically, you'd send that to one or more observability platforms. Maybe you have a homogeneous one where it's one backend for all the signal data that you're generating. Maybe it's a different backend for every signal that you have. So like one separate between traces, metrics, and logs. Now, OpenTelemetry is trying to solve one piece of the observability puzzle, if you will. And that is, how do you, in a consistent way, instrument and collect data within your environment in an open source and vendor agnostic way? So prior to this, basically, vendors that would offer observability backends or platforms, they would give you proprietary instrumentation and data collection aspects. And that was great because it gave you all the data that you needed, but it locked you into that particular vendor. And so you may not have all the features that you need. It was a very heavy lift to actually move between vendors if you wanted to. And so OpenTelemetry is really looking to standardize this across all signal data that you could possibly want to collect today. Traces, metrics, and logs are already stable. Profiling has been announced. There's already great work happening in client instrumentation for real user monitoring. And so, really, they're trying to solve what happens in your environment. Where OpenTelemetry draws the line is that it does not provide an observability backend or platform. Instead, it integrates with a variety of different open source or commercially available observability platforms. And it's meant to be kind of a superset of open standards. So it's able to adapt or evolve over time. It's very extensible. So kind of as the observability market matures and changes, OTeL will be able to kind of change with it as well.
I think a lot of people are super hyped about the standardization that OpenTelemetry brings and the open source nature of it, but there are some pitfalls and some complexities with it. Can you talk to that a little bit? Like, what are the first issues somebody might come across when they start implementing this?
Yeah, I mean, you're adding additional software to your applications, And so that can be complex, right? Like you need to learn about in OTeL's world, the API and the SDK and how to actually add this into your code. But adding anything in is going to introduce some amount of overhead. And so you need to make sure you're doing it in a way that doesn't result in like any patterns or pitfalls, as I call them in the book, where you're maybe instrumenting every single function call, even though that doesn't provide any value to you, or you're not being careful about like needing to handle buffer or retry logic as you're emitting this telemetry data from your applications. And so this is a very complex area. OTeL's trying to make it easier for you. Like in the case of instrumentation, they offer what's called manual instrumentation or automatic, now called like zero code instrumentation. So there are ways to more easily get started with OpenTelemetry. But of course, every environment's a little bit different. There's a long tail of different environment or platforms or third party services you could be using. And you have to be careful when you're kind of doing this in your environment overall. Plus, like how many people are in a greenfield environment where they have no instrumentation today? Many already are coming from a world where they've instrumented with something. And so, like, how do you have multiple different instrumentation libraries? How do you migrate if you want to do that and move to an open standard like OpenTelemetry? There's a lot of pieces here. So, I definitely agree it's kind of complex. I try to touch on this a bit on the book as well as ways or things that you might come across and how you might approach them to kind of minimize that friction.
You mentioned the book. Let's talk about that book. So this is called Mastering Open Telemetry and Observability, Enhancing Application and Infrastructure Performance and Avoiding Outage. Now that's a mouthful, but talk about like why now? Why this book?
Yeah, so I think OpenTelemetry is a very popular project. It's the second most active in all of the Cloud Native Compute Foundation, or CNCF, behind only Kubernetes. And there is a lot of great material out there already. There are several kind of books on the topic. There are blog posts, conference talks, things to that extent. I think that there is an opportunity to kind of approach the topic a little bit differently. And so I tried to do that. One of the approaches that I took is how do I take this, as you kind of put it, like complex topic, and how do I simplify it so it doesn't matter whether you're a software developer or SRE or in DevOps, or whether you're an IT manager or you're a product manager or maybe you're in sales or support. How can I make this like material a little bit more approachable for folks? And I also didn't focus purely on OpenTelemetry. This touches on both aspects: the OpenTelemetry aspect of instrumentation, data collection, the specification, but also on like how do you choose an observability platform? How do you scale observability? How do you deal with things like context and correlation, or even like anti patterns and pitfalls, like we were just talking about? So the book kind of dives into all these other areas that are just as important, I think, as the OpenTelemetry project itself. And I tried to do it in a way where it's just hopefully a little bit more approachable to folks to trying to like pick up or learn this area. The other reason why now is like I learned a lot coming up in the technology fields about from others, right? Like from their books or from their conference talks. And I saw this as kind of an opportunity to give back on a topic that A, I'm passionate about, and B, I've been involved in for a long time. So I just thought it was a good opportunity to hopefully contribute something back that I'm hoping people will see value from.
Great. And my background, as you know, is performance engineering. And so when I see a book title that includes how to make things perform better and prevent outages, of course, I'm getting this book. I mean, I want it immediately for that reason. But if I get into this book, what as a performance engineer should I expect to learn from this?
Yeah, it depends on which aspects you care about. Like, is it how do I generate the data necessary to do the performance monitoring? Or what do I do with the data once I've actually collected it at the end of the day? I focus a lot on the availability and performance aspects because those are the two most important today for observability. So, like if you think of traces, right, red metrics are very common, and duration, like latency information, is going to help you understand some of the performance characteristics about it. But of course, every environment's a bit different. Like, what is too much latency? That's going to be very environment specific. And so I won't touch on like all the aspects of like, hey, I don't know how your environment's constructed, but I do show like, here's what you can extract from trace data, for example. Here's how you can leverage metrics in a consistent way. Here's how you can do things like semantic conventions, which is a fancy way to say standardized metadata, where you're being able to consistently monitor or track availability and performance issues through your environment, even across different signal types. So it's more of like an introductory to like intermediary aspect. It doesn't specifically drill into like, here's how I'd fully troubleshoot a full performance issue in my environment. It does leverage the astronomy demo application that's part of the OpenTelemetry ecosystem, and there are performance scenarios in there, so it will actually show you how you can kick that off and kind of troubleshoot it. But they're quite simple, I'd say. Like, real production issues are going to be a lot more complex. So it really depends on what you're looking to get from a performance perspective.
From the technical aspects, this is very exciting. But let me go one step higher on this. And from speaking from somebody who just says, look, at our company, you mentioned that we're going to have a back end, an observability back end, and we're already spending a lot of money gathering a lot of stuff. And if we implement OpenTelemetry on top of all of this, now we're gathering even more stuff, so it's going to be even more expensive. How do you respond to that? And that's really the elephant in the room is cloud cost overall, but then the monitoring of everything costing almost as much. How can you implement something like this where you're gathering all this data but reduce the cost at the same time, like make it more efficient in cost?
Yeah, I think this is a really good question because people are really on one of two different phases of their observability journey. One is they're just moving to it, right? Like, they haven't like experienced the scale or the cost issues yet. Maybe they're getting familiar with what OpenTelemetry is and the value that it can provide. Maybe they're just getting to a dozen or so microservices. Maybe they're just moving to the cloud. So, like, that's one pretty big cohort, I think, of people. And then the second is what you described, which is, hey, I've already adopted this. I see the value, and the amount of data just continues to grow, and the cost and complexity continues to grow. And what am I going to do? Because I can't have like linear like cost increases here. That's just not going to work for me. I think one of the values of OpenTelemetry is that it gives you a data portability, so you can like move between different backends or platforms as you want. But second, it gives you full control of your data. So you can choose what you send. You can filter, you can sample, you can enrich, you can redact. It's really up to you. You have to configure that, of course. So, like on the collector, you can use YAML configuration, or you can be using a configuration management tool that kind of does that on your behalf. So you have like tools to do it. But I agree that this is the next problem. Like, you fully bought into the observability journey, and now there's just too much data. And there might even be duplicated data. Like, you can get some of your metrics from trace data, you can get some of your logs from trace data. So, do I need all three? Is kind of a question that's coming up as well. I think that cost is kind of the next frontier of maturity of something that needs to be addressed. So, in addition to talking about scale, I do talk about some of these cost complexities. And one of the last chapters is about like the future of observability and kind of where I see it going. One of the things that I think is going to become more common, I mean, backend platforms are already adding more capabilities to do metering, usage, billing type things. So you can figure out like which of your metrics are you actually using in charts and alerts, for example, versus which ones are just you're ingesting, but you're not actually consuming. So maybe they're not valuable. I also think there's going to be more of a frontier for edge processing, basically something like the OTeL collector running in your environment at the edge just before you emit that to your observability backend, and having more controls at the edge in order to kind of monitor like what type of data are you generating, and can you like reduce or aggregate or do something else with that data in an intelligent way, dare I say like AI, for example, as a way of kind of like managing this. But yes, cost concerns are definitely increasing, because as you take a monolith and you decouple it into a bunch of microservices, all those microservices generate data. If you have to duplicate that environment, you have to run it in different like geographic locations or compliance boundaries. That increases the number or the amount of data that you're generating. So this is a huge problem, and something that I definitely touch upon in the book as well.
That's amazing. That's great. Makes me even more excited to read the book. Let's talk a little bit more about those back ends, though. So, if we're implementing something like you're a senior engineer at Splunk, tell me about how Splunk deals with OpenTelemetry and incorporating that into their back end.
Yep. So, full disclosure, I work at Splunk. I work on Splunk Observability Cloud, which is for traces, metrics, and logs. And also, in terms of the book, I try to take a very vendor agnostic approach. So, we're not going to be talking about different like vendor backends. We'll talk about like the capabilities that you should be looking for from an observability platform. But at Splunk, we took the approach for our observability solution that it's 100% OTeL native, right? So we use OTeL instrumentation and the OTeL collector to get data in. We support the OTLP OTeL protocol, which is OpenTelemetry's official protocol for ingesting data at the ingestion point for traces, metrics, and logs. And we offer what are called distributions. You can think of them as like a wrapper on top of the open source software in order to make it easier to use with Splunk. So, for example, it'll have like environmental variables that you can set so you can easily get started with setting like the Splunk API token or like the realm that you're sending the data to. It's not meant to be proprietary in any way, right? It's still based on open source, and you can use the same basically config with the open source stuff, and it works. But it provides a way of giving like support to the customer base and just making it a little bit easier to kind of get started with it. So we're big proponents of it. The way that I think about it is whether Splunk contributes to OTeL or not, OTeL is going to be kind of the future. So it's kind of in everyone's best interest to come help out and make it the best product that we can, because this is a real pain point, right? You're seeing cloud providers, you're seeing vendors, and you're seeing end users actively involved, like contributing code as well as adopting OpenTelemetry. And so collectively, I think if we all work together, we can make the best solution for the market.
I think you're right, and I can already hear my listeners shouting from their desktops that they're watching from right now. Hurry up, tell me how to get a hold of this book. How can I find out about it? So that's the next question is how can people get a hold of this book?
Yeah, it just went on pre-release last week, so you should see it on a bunch of different platforms today: Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, what have you. The book officially comes out in early October, so I think it's like the 8th of October, if I remember correctly. So it'll be here very, very soon. And over the course of the next month or two, I'm going to be doing kind of a variety of different things. I'll be putting out some blog posts that are kind of teasers as to some of the topics that are going to be covered. I'll also have kind of opportunities to register if you're interested in perhaps winning a copy of the book. So there'll be some opportunities there. And I've also submitted a bunch of conference proposals to different conferences, and hopefully I'll get a few accepted there. At the very least, I'm hoping to be at KubeCon North America in Salt Lake City this year, and looking forward to kind of showing off the book there as well.
Awesome. I hope to see you there, and I'll find out how things are going at that time. Thanks so much for being on the show today, and I'll make sure I have links in our description of our video how they can get a hold of your book as well. I wish you much success, and you're welcome back on the show anytime.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited about it. And I hope everyone will take a look at the book. Thanks so much.
Well, I'm definitely going to be picking up Steve's book. I hope that you will as well. I think it's a very interesting how fast OpenTelemetry was accepted by the community, moving from OpenCensus to OpenTelemetry, and how fast it continues to grow, as Kubernetes does as well. I think it's going to be a staple and part of your overall observability strategy for monitoring your applications and finding out those questions, the answers to the many questions. How is my service doing? How are my applications doing? And ultimately, how is my business doing? So, what do you think about this show? Did you get anything out of it? I hope you did. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. You can reach me several different ways. I'm primarily on LinkedIn a lot more than I'm on the other platforms, but if you scan that QR code, you can find out how to reach me and all of the shows that I have in addition to this SMC Journal podcast. Of course, you can always send me an email at heyscott at thesmcjournal.com. Would love to hear from you. Would be also great if you liked this video to tell that YouTube algorithm that it needs to send people to my channel to watch all this great information because it's very, very valuable. And this is Scott Moore saying bye bye.